everybody, and welcome to our, slightly special stream today. Yesterday we had a German stream for the Day of Reunification, and we still wanted to have a stream for you guys because we have a new test iteration of the Submarines, and we wanted to talk to you a bit about what we changed, why we changed it, and answer your questions. So that's the plan for us for today, but we are not alone. We brought two special guests from St. Petersburg who are going to help us with answering your questions. So welcome Sub Octavian and Sir Nelson. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
So for those who don't know you, just introduce yourselves and what are you doing for World of Warships?
So basically, I create spreadsheet memes and he balances Smolensk. Like, long story short. Okay, enough trolling. I'm a live producer for this game, and I'm responsible for global community interaction and strategy. Me and my team make sure that you guys, I mean players, and community managers, by the way, as well, know as much about the game as possible, know what we're doing, why we're doing, and at the same time, we make sure that developers know about your concerns, questions, feedback, and so on and so forth, to put it shortly.
Yes, and I'm a balance team lead here in World of Warships, so my main responsibility is bringing to you guys some new experiences in ships and branches, and also like we're working on a new classes like submarines and previously air carriers, so that's basically what I do.
Cool.
And I see that there is a submarine looking over your shoulders there.
Yeah, I actually didn't want to spoil it, but actually it's not a real submarine. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm sure it's still watching. It's still watching. Yes. So let's get right into the thick of things. We already had the first iteration of a submarine test. And obviously, we collected a lot of feedback, and we wanted to say thank you for all of you who participated in the first test. I know a lot of you were already registered for that test and wanted to participate, and not everybody was able to get in. But we wanted to have a limited amount of players on that server for now. And based on the feedback that you provided and the stats that we gathered, we already prepared a list of changes that we're now implementing on the second test. And what are the main changes that we applied?
Well, first of all, I wanted to say once again, thank you to all people who helped us with first stage of beta test. Thank you for participation. I know that dedicating time to test when you have full game and lots of events there, it can be like pretty serious. So thank you for that. We tried to be more flexible if we compare Submarines beta test with CV rework beta, and we managed actually this time to get quite a few changes through. Most of them are based directly on players' feedback, which is a good thing. So first of all, we're going to talk about new revised interaction of submarines and destroyers. I think the main concern, probably one of the biggest concerns we heard from testers was that depth charges, automatic discharges required very little participation from player on the one hand. On the other hand, it was completely wrecking submarines 100% reliable. And at the same time, we heard quite a lot of feedback about this mini game we had for destroyers versus submarines. So we wanted to make this interaction more interesting, more interactive, basically, and we revised the system. You want to talk about it in detail, maybe?
Yeah, so basically, we just what Phil said, we wanted to add more interaction and also like get rid of some cases with the old, like what can you say, passive search for the submarine, this mini game that it was on the first iteration, because it sometimes it worked a bit awkward. So we decided to like make it from scratch and make it more like obvious, to say, and also that so that it would not say too much about the position of a submarine, but at the same time it will give just enough hint to the destroyer so that it can manually now with the depth charges hunt the submarine. So yeah, both the submarine and with the new consumable that is maximum depth, and the destroyer with his manual depth charges and this like sonar thing have now more interaction, more gameplay within this like interaction, basically. Yeah.
Basically, you're giving the player. So please mute your microphone when I'm talking because my head will explode otherwise. Sorry. Basically, we're giving DD players a chance to fail when launching depth charges now. Because
yeah.
Yes. On the other hand, you can release them very quickly, and I think you have three volleys of depth charges usually available.
Yes, obviously that could require more balancing, and right now we just put just our first ideas into that without any real differences between destroyers, so that they basically work, and we want to test the mechanic itself. How does that feel? Maybe it would be too overwhelming for a destroyer, but we'll see that from your feedback, guys. So we're looking forward to it.
I have to say, I already saw some comments after we. By the way, our talking is nice, but you can read about all of these changes in development blog, which we published yesterday. So if we're not clear enough, or if you want to recap on all of this, you can go and read this. Anyway, I already heard some comments that it will be an overload for destroyers, which is funny because after the first iteration of beta, I think people kind of complained about depth charges being not manual, and now we gave them manual depth charges, and we have some comments. It's too much. But honestly, I would probably compare the new depth charges system to priority sector of AA. It kind of requires some input from player, but it doesn't feel overwhelming, at least for me personally.
Yes, my perception of that is like quite the same when I played it. It was, I had to do something, but it's not much. It doesn't require that much attention or something like that.
Exactly. This is. Oh, sorry.
No.
Just
go.
wanted to say that this is something we read a lot of comments about this, and this was one of the main aspects that was part of the feedback that we gathered from players. Is that as a DD, you wanted to have a little bit more interaction with the submarine instead of just going right over it. So that's part of that. I see a few questions related to when is, for example, Siegfried coming or Slava and so on. Guys, please keep in mind that for the next 40 minutes, we want to stay focused on submarines and answer your questions regarding that topic. For questions about other topics, I'm very happy to answer them in the second half of the stream. But for now, take the time and the opportunity to ask questions about submarines and the related gameplay and your concerns or hopes or suggestions for that. And we will direct your questions to Seb Octavian and to Sir Nelson. So please try to stay on topic, and everything else we'll try to answer later on. Okay, guys?
Sure. When Ivan was elaborating on this new DD versus submarine interaction, you mentioned maximum depth. Maybe you will want to tell us more about maximum depth then.
Yeah, well, maximum depth is the new consumable that that gives the opportunity to the submarine to go even deeper and be somewhat protected from the depth charges. So if you time it correctly, you can, even if the destroyer found you and he drops you, you still have the opportunity to survive. It doesn't give you immune or something like that, but it just takes off a lot of damage from you, a lot of pressure. So if the destroyer does everything perfectly, then most likely you won't have a chance. But if he makes a bit like some mistakes or something like that, then you with this consumable will be able to survive this. But you'll have to time it correctly again.
Yeah, I think it lasts approximately 40 or 50 seconds or something around that. And actually, I used it today a couple of times on beta test. My feeling was that you just start receiving like hundreds of damage instead of thousands of damage. So it's not total immunity, but it's a handy tool. Still, I get wrecked. Just prolonged my pain a bit.
And there's a very on topic question from Freako, and he's asking why subs can fire torpedoes only on periscope depth and not on the surface level anymore.
Well, I can start answering, and probably Ivan will give more perspective. The very important thing about submarines in our game right now is this combination of their states, like periscope, surface, depth, and combination of the states and the abilities, the features of the states. We do want to have a very clear definition between 3, now 4, we have technically 4 states now, so that players who will be potentially learning this class, learning this gameplay, they will be able to have very clear idea what to expect from what state in terms of gameplay, and in what cases what states should be used. So obviously submarines on surface are super vulnerable, super weak, and for us it doesn't make sense to make this attack position, because it's periscope, basically. Periscope is the main attack position. We did consider different options, but for now we decided, we actually even tested the submarines with the ability to launch torpedoes on surface, but from our internal play test it looked like that it just confused people mostly, and it was not efficient, it was just yawing. So we decided to cut it off, and even on first stage of beta there was no such opportunity, and for now we're not planning to return this. You have anything to add?
No, actually, you said it quite good.
Yeah, so getting to further changes, small but important quality of life improvement is more visible ping on minimap. I think people complain about it. I remember Flam was streaming the test and saying that it's not visible enough, so we hear you guys. We made it much more visible. But what's more important is torpedo rebalance. With torpedoes, there were several issues indicated in players' feedback. First of all, the damage with 2 sonar pings seemed like devastating for battleships, like too devastating. That was one problem. Second problem was that submarine torpedoes were very, very well suited for targeting battleships, probably too much, but at the same time they were really not efficient against any other well, battleships and carriers, of course, capital ships, but they were not really, they didn't have any chances against cruisers or destroyers. And like, this is mostly fine. We do want submarines to target less maneuverable targets better, but we wanted to reduce this extremity a bit. So we rebalanced both the tracking, like homing characteristics of torpedoes, and their damage, and maybe Ivan will tell you a bit more about it.
Yes, so the second sonar ping will now just ignore the torpedo protection of the ship, so it will mostly damage the battleships more, like, because cruisers usually don't have a lot of torpedo protection and in terms of damage. But also we added the effect of increasing the accuracy for the homing systems of the torpedo with the second ping. So basically when you fire, when you get your second sonar ping on a target, it will maneuver and home better, so that it would be able to, like, it will be able to, like, well, you know,
Submarines.
to hit the more maneuverable targets like cruisers, but obviously we don't want for the battleships to have no counterplay against that, against this, like, increased maneuverability. So we increased the range at which the torpedo stops homing. So for the battleship, it increased since the first beta. So basically, it's the moment where the torpedo just goes straight where it went, and you interact with it like with the normal torpedo, and you can torpedo beat and all that stuff.
Very complicated, but yeah, the point is that on the one hand, a bit less alpha damage, on the other hand, more consistent hits. On the third hand, if I had it, it will be more counterplay against these torpedoes and ability to dodge. Like it's really complex changes, but the best way to experience them is to try them on beta test, if you have access, of course. I also saw an interesting question, and while we don't forget about it, I want to answer it about silent running or something. Because Zoikum asks about silent riding mode, basically when sub just submerges at 0 speed and just lays silently. It's very thematic, it's cool, and we thought about it. But it's very boring within our 20-minute match. So we decided to go with this maximum death consumable depth. Not death. Wait, maximum death is when destroyer parks above you and starts to bomb you. Maximum death consumable, because while having kind of similar effect, remotely similar, it preserves the tempo of gameplay. So we're not going to let you guys just lay on the surface of the sea and do nothing. That's boring. Anyway, these were the most important changes, and we encourage you to go try them if you have access to beta test. But also, there are some concerns. There were some concerns, and probably will be, which we did not specifically address for some reasons. We just wanted to outline a bit. We saw quite a lot of people actually asking for the deck guns to be available and playable. There are two things I think about this request for deck guns. Well, first of all, why they are not active in the game? Because they do absolutely nothing within the big picture. Very low caliber, just 1-2 guns. They will not do anything apart from getting you killed and spotted if you fire them. So that's probably the case where this overcomplication is absolutely unnecessary, because even professional players will not benefit from it, because it's just very, very, very weak artillery. But also, I think that that part of the requests about deck guns also came from the fact that submarine versus submarine warfare was not sufficient in the first beta, and I think some players wanted these guns, not, well, at least from what I got from feedback, not because they specifically wanted to fire this one cannon at the enemy, but because they just felt that when you're fighting submarine against submarine, you just can do only ramming, basically. So we also changed a bit that. I think we didn't mention it, but we improved tracking capabilities of torpedoes against submarines. So basically, if you manage to get 2 pings, 1 ping probably won't be enough, because submarine changes the position not in just one pane. It can submerge, it can emerge, it can turn left and right. So the tracking should be better for torpedo to hit the submarine. So you need to get 2 acoustic pings on her, and then torpedoes will follow her underwater and will have chance to hit her. So we are expanding this submarine anti-submarine warfare a bit with this stage of beta, but we don't know yet if it will be enough or not. We'll see from the testing, I guess.
And since you mentioned deck guns, I guess the same answer applies to deck AA guns?
Yes.
Yes.
We have here we have actually quite a lot of questions right now from the chat. One that is repeated quite often is why did we change the submarine icon to icon that resembles DD from the diamond shape?
Well, because with diamond shape you couldn't tell where the submarine is actually, where it looks, so you don't know where it's more attacking side, like the front of the ship. That's why we changed
awareness,
it.
basically.
Yeah. So it was really hard to we read a lot of feedback that it was hard to read from the minimap, and so that's why we changed it.
Oh, you have plenty of questions.
Another question that seems to be popping up, and sorry that I'm not naming names, but it's from more than one player, is with regards to depth charges, whether there will be also the anti-submarine rockets, like basically the remotely fired depth charges like on the rockets on the Friesland and Hedgehog and such systems?
It's possible. Never say never, as always. But for now, we're testing the usual depth charge guns that could be found on like 6th tier, and but we'll think about how to add these reactive guns, like basically rockets.
Oh, Ivan, today I was not able to submerge in time when the enemy carrier found me with his attack planes, and I felt the full power of rockets against submarines. They hit you pretty hard.
Yeah.
But the HE bombs hit you even better.
Oh yeah.
Power Verde is asking whether submarines do get hit by torps. Yes, they do. And whether they get hit by deep water torps.
We have a design for that.
Sounds ominous.
Yes. I also see here a comment from Megatron. They aren't talking about submarine economics. For that part, it's still too early, right? Because we're right now working on the game design behind it. And once we're closer to a stage where we consider this to be balanced, we can take a look at the actual economic factors for submarines.
Yeah, just to save everyone's time and get us to the questions we actually can answer. Guys, there is no point in talking about economics, talking about upgrades for submarines, about tech trees, about commander skills, because all this meta gameplay, of course it will be addressed, but at later stages. Right now we're testing core gameplay, we're concentrating on just one tier specifically for that, so we can just get the basic thing right, then we'll elaborate. So let's talk about core gameplay today, not about some perks, because even this dude does not know 100% for now what perks will be and what changes will follow.
Yeah, this applies also to the question that I've seen popping up in this minute, basically from several people about snorkels. That's also...
Yeah, and that's
it's
also
too early.
true for basically skill-related questions. Obviously, what we're doing right now is doing a very early test. So, for example, certain commander skills might not be working on submarines. That's absolutely fine. Feel free to report this, obviously, in your feedback that you send to us. But overall, for us, it's more about figuring out how decent the interaction between classes, the gameplay overall, works.
And since you mentioned interaction between classes, there is a question from Type 18. In order from most to least effective, how well do the other ship classes counter submarines? So that's basically how well we intend for the classes to be in this anti-submarine warfare, I guess.
I mean, submarines are very vulnerable to HE. They are very vulnerable to HE on surface, and they pretty vulnerable on Periscope. Of course, I think maybe Ivan will correct me, but I think for interaction between submarines and other classes, the main point probably is not whether you can deal the damage to submarine, because yes, you will be able to deal damage to submarine if you see it. But the question is, how can you find it? That's the main question. And for now, destroyers, of course, have upper hand. And it makes sense both from historical and from gameplay point of view, but we certainly don't want to have all other classes completely 100% vulnerable. We actually, despite of talking about rock, paper, scissors design many years ago, we don't want it to be 100% hard rock, paper, scissors game. This is why submarines can be spotted from air pretty cool, and float planes help. This is why CV can counter submarines as well, and submarine can counter CV. This is why battleship salvo of HE can wreck submarines like in one salvo. So whether we need to add more mechanics to other classes to achieve healthy gameplay, we don't know yet. For now, we're testing what we're testing, and we'll see how it plays.
Obviously, once you mentioned HE, there was a comment. So the Italian cruiser is F because of no HE shells. But
well, nope.
That will develop.
They will be fine.
What about British cruisers, though?
Yeah, they won't be fine. Well, yeah, we're thinking about. We know that the current interaction between British cruisers and submarines is just painful, and we're thinking of things that we can do with these cruisers to like, so that they would have some meaningful interaction with submarine, and also not break other things in the game, like with the AP shells.
I also saw an interesting question in chat that Halloween submarines were actually a lot of fun, and what we're doing now doesn't ring the bell or something like this. I think it would be useful to recap on this a bit. So submarines on Halloween were fun, but they were not submarines at all. Like of course, in our game, we have action game. We pack huge naval battles in 20 minutes. Of course, everything happens not exactly the same as in reality, but Halloween submarines didn't feel like submarines. They felt like destroyers with the ability to dive quickly from time to time on YOLO. And that's not the gameplay we wanted. And this is why we created this system of sonar pings, which actually puts the player into Periscope, puts him into a position where they need to observe the target, to do something with target, to watch the torpedoes go, and that's the gameplay which resembles submarines much, much more, in our opinion, than Halloween. Although yes, Halloween was fun, but we need to find better solution. And by the way, I have very nice announcement because I noticed that a lot of people in chat complained about not being invited to the test, and of course, we want to invite everyone, but we wanted also to provide even load for server and make sure that everything runs smoothly and not to overdo it. So we have flawless testing. But we listen to you guys. So right now we're sending out additional 10,000 invites to beta test as the addition to the invites which we sent yesterday. So if you applied to beta, check out your mail. Maybe you're lucky this time. 10,000 additional invites are on the way. Thank you.
Very nice.
Yeah, that should make the battles quite lively. There is the question. Akar in 2017 is asking whether if we are, since we are planning to add a 5th class into the game, whether we are considering increasing number of players per side.
No, right now we don't think that would be a good idea, to be honest. Not for the last part. The resources of the computers is quite limited, and I'm not sure we could fit more, because we have to always to think not about only the high-end PCs, but also about like lower end as well. And 12 versus 12 actually is quite on the point, on the maximum point, basically, because we have all these models, and also the submarines obviously brings even more performance difficulties for us that we have to solve, obviously, for you guys, that are related to us having an underwater world. Basically, it never existed before that, and now it will, and we have to like model it, and it has to be processed on a computer. So this is, I think, one of the main reasons, and also we believe that like 4 years in our game, like 12 versus 12 worked very good, and we actually don't know how 15 versus 15 will work, even with the new submarines.
Thank you.
I also just wanted to outline that currently on beta test, the limits for submarines per team is 3, and we're not going to implement this limit on production if submarines make it to live server to PvP. Actually, our current plan is 2. So just so you remember about this, don't worry. We absolutely don't want half of the ships in the team to be submarines. That would be not healthy. So they increased the amount of submarines on test just for testing purpose right now.
There was a related question to this. Do we have any plans to also have a rule for a certain amount of DDs in the matchmaking when submarines are in the game?
For now, we don't. Like, probably, well, I guess we'll have to think, and we are actually already think about a lot more about how the interaction between the team with the submarines and the team without the DDs will work, and that's also one of the big questions that I know the community has, and also that we're trying to solve.
Yeah, we just had an update in chat from Evan. Apparently, you will be able to have a training room battle with 12v12 submarines. Just you.
Only me, thank you.
Yes. Cree74 is asking, that's actually a question that we saw quite a lot somewhere around, whether we are planning to expand the prime time on the test server because it's basically on NA in the working hours, so not too many people can participate.
So that's a valid question, and I have to just apologize here. We perfectly understand that for some people our prime time is not convenient at all. The problem here is that this beta test, first of all, its goal is to test the new gameplay, test the new features properly, and the entertainment side for everyone, it kind of comes the second. So we got the most wide prime time which works for us as possible. We understand that for NA people it might not be convenient, but unfortunately right now with our current technical testing capabilities, we cannot do more. We're going to invite more and more people to the test while it goes, and maybe by the end of it, or on later stages when we are more confident in this gameplay, we invite more people, then we will be able to expand prime times, or maybe even remove prime times at all and leave the beta server running for a day, for example. But right now it's not technically feasible, and I really apologize for this inconvenience. But you have to understand that testing needs and testing goals here come first. This is what we doing beta for. In any case, as you know, as soon as the beta is over, we'll be working on adding submarines to the PvP limited game mode on main server, on main client, and I think a lot more people will be able to try it in comfortable conditions.
Thank you. There's a pretty basic question from Van. He has a very long name and I don't want to slaughter it, so I'll just call him Van. He's asking whether all existing DDs will be upgraded with depth charges and sonar, or whether we're going to release anti-submarine DDs in general.
Yes, almost all of the DDs will have depth charges with this sonar mechanic, and although only the premium ones that didn't actually have them, we obviously can't touch them because we try to make the premiums as close to the real prototype when it has a real prototype as we can. So in these cases, the DDs won't have the depth charges, but if I remember correctly, it's a couple of ships in the entire game. Other than that, all of them will have the depth charges. But cool. Most of them did have depth charges, so makes sense.
Thank you. There's also an interesting question on YouTube. How do we want this to work when basically a wreck is sinking and you hit that wreck with your submarine by accident or on purpose?
Then the whole server crashes, all players got thrown out of the game, our office burns immediately. I don't know, guys, what kind of question is this?
So but right now they don't take any damage and it's supposed to work.
Yes, but these questions are important, but the questions of sinking wrecks and all this interesting points, they are in distant future. We'll get there, but not now.
But we have now one more practical question here from Cosmo34, which is aiming basically at the situation that happens now on test sometimes, that basically you launch torpedoes and then island eats them because the underwater terrain gets in the way of the torpedoes. Are we planning to add any indicators or something?
I think we'll think of something about that. Maybe we'll work with our underwater terrain, as like we have only 2 maps for that, and we try to polish it as much as we could. But obviously, it isn't perfect right now. So we'll work on that, and maybe that will include indicator, or maybe we'll just flatten a bit the terrain.
Oh, apparently my description
Yes,
contains.
there's an additional I because you're especially special.
Well,
do you have any other good questions?
Well, the pink question is basically the same as the torpedoes with the moving around islands. Wait, no, it's.
Yeah, there's one
Oh,
question here
I see
about,
that Evan still remembers the
scenario,
social producer.
Well, you're looking for another question. So Xen was asking, is there any scenario game planned for Submarines? It's the same answer as before. These kind of aspects, they come later on. Right now, it's really about the interaction between classes, the gameplay itself. So all of these aspects, we'll get to this later on. For now, it's the most important thing for us to get this right, how Submarines would fit into our, let's say, like the everyday aspect of the game and how we can make this work. And then all of the other things would follow after that.
Okay, as I see, most questions now shift from submarines to other things connected with the game. So I suggest for us not to waste time. You can guys maybe accept non-submarine questions because we still have, I think, 15 minutes. So let's talk about other questions because we're here and we're going to answer all of them as much as we can. Be our guest. Chris, I know you love to ask us very tricky questions, so be our guest.
I always do.
We will revenge you later. Don't worry.
I'm just asking the questions from the community, so I'm a saint clearly. Will there be fish? Is Schizo asking? This is a very valid question. What about fish and whales and sharks?
I'm not sure, but there might be.
If you're ever in Russia, I can recommend you a very good sushi delivery. Don't worry.
Yep, that's
Okay.
true. It's just great.
Yeah. A question that we see more often lately is here from Casual Scrubbies asking, is the Enterprise permanently removed, like the Belfast, or will she return at some point?
No plans to return her currently.
Yeah, the same thing is true for Belfast, guys. I mean, we're not saying she's never going to come back, but right now she's off the table and unlikely to make it back. And Herin, I already answered your question about the shipwreck when it falls on the submerged submarine. Smolensk. Obviously, there had to be a question about Smolensk. Nuclear Funk is asking, Smolensk, are you going to or willing to nerf it? Because it's not a premium that was bought with money. So what's the current stance on Smolensk?
Well, we absolutely reserve the right to nerf her if needed, because it's not premium bought with money, of course, as rightfully noted. And actually, right now, I'm sorry, but we don't have any indication that we need to make any emergency measures, apart from the fact that people think that it's not enjoyable to play against. And I'm not going to invalidate this opinion. For some people, it's like that. I don't know. I play the game every day on high tiers mostly, and I play against Smolensk. I can handle it. No, there are no plans to nerf her right now. But if it's needed, we will do it because it's co-ship, and we reserve the full right to do anything which needs to be done for balancing co-ships.
Brand 212 is asking, how deep can submarine go till seafloor?
No, I think right now, even with the maximum depth consumables, like 60 meters or something.
Yep, it's fixed. Because it actually is... we have to think about the maximum depth at which the submarine can go, because we have to make the underwater terrain so that it doesn't collide with the submarine, so it won't just go into some island underwater. That's why we have to have this fixed minimum depth, maximum depth at which the submarine can be.
Okay, and Renegade has a question. What happened to the year of the iceberg?
I guess he means the breakable icebergs.
Yes, I mean, I hope so.
Icebergs. I think we should make them available through Research Bureau. Like double.
That's a nice idea. I guess you can just buy a map in the research bureaus and then you can just play with.
No. You can buy icebergs in Research Bureau and
you play as an iceberg.
No.
But it'd be so fun.
No. You can already
would be a
play.
nice feature for my Des Moines. I can just drop an iceberg right in front of me.
You can already play as iceberg if you have the special camo for certain ships.
Yes, Scharnhorst.
yes.
Icy Scharnhorst. Best Scharnhorst out there.
Habakkuk, no Habakkuk planned. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Yet.
Oswin, the question about the Kremlin being nerfed and why, you can find that information already on the devlog because we released that last week.
The Kremlin being nerfed because we have Russian bias and we love. Oh wait, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, but we still do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously we're nerfing Kremlin because she was overperforming, and we basically applied some changes. So we reduced the maximum damage per AP shell, which also influences a few other values related to that shell, and accordingly we also reduced the damage that the HE shell is doing, which should help with basically her overperforming in terms of damage. And that's the first step that we did to bring the Kremlin in line with the other tier 10 battleships.
Oh.
I saw the question about Benham. We're not going to bring her back right now. This wonderful event with Benham was quite popular, and there is, I would say, quite a few of them in the game, and we don't want to overdo it because it's not healthy when a specific ship starts to dominate the tier in terms of popularity. It just kills diversity in the game. So not yet.
Okay.
There was also a question about Kitakami.
Yeah, we cannot have a stream without a question about the Kitakami. Exactly.
Kitakami. I would say something like as soon as our stream gets 30k CCU, we will add Kitakami, but I'm afraid of saying this because I think people want Kitakami so much that they will do it actually.
Yeah, it's kind of risky.
And then I think I'm going to ask the last question so you guys can move on. So we have the question from Smolensk Absolute Balance, a nice nickname there. He's asking, are there any changes planned for German battleships to make them more competitive again? It wouldn't be a stream as well without a question about German battleships. So I'll end the Q&A with the German battleships question.
I will say something about it actually. Just watch this dude punch me in the face while I'm saying this. So
that should be interesting.
Clip it.
We discuss it almost every day, and the icebergs started to melt. There may be buffs for German battleships this year.
It's possible.
It's a little Christmas present for everybody.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi said, it's just million of Kriegsmarine captains yelled in in happiness at the same time. Well, we're working on this, but you need to give us some time, guys. It's not that fast, but we're working on it.
Okay, cool.
That's cool.
Well, I think on that note, it's a good point.
I think. Wait. I think we
Don't
can
break
also.
it now. Don't break it now.
No. I think we can share some details. I think we were discussing actually removing some firing range from them so that they play more optimal.
Yes, obviously that makes sense.
So that they hit more on the maximum range, right?
Yeah, because they're not efficient at range, so it does make sense. We cut 5 kilometers probably or 10 kilometers from their range. They will brawl more, and when they're brawling, they're more efficient, and they will be buffed. Yes.
We'll give it to you guys. So that you can...
And the spreadsheet will get better after this. I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. And
No, actually.
And Sir Nelson, it's very easy. Just introduce a secondary reload booster, and we're all happy.
With the
Especially for
10
Mikasa.
kilometers max firing range on the main guns, yes. In that combination, should be fun.
I think that would be fun. Once you're in range for that, I'll take that button.
Okay, actually, we're having fun, but don't get us wrong. We love German battleships. Right now, I'm finishing my regrind for Bureau, by the way, of German battleships line, and we absolutely try to find the room to do something for them. The problem is that they actually perform pretty well. The problem that their play style is a lot about sacrificing your own HP so that your teammates can do the job, and that's not something obvious. But we have some ideas, and we'll share them as soon as we can.
Cool. Well then, thank you very much, Octavian and Sir Nelson. It's always very cool to have you here and be able to answer all of the player questions. And I think we answered pretty much all of the submarine questions we could answer today. So thank you very much for that. And with this, we'll just wish you a very, very nice weekend. And guys, we'll move over to the actual playing submarines part together. Okay?
Yay. Okay. Thanks for the info, and
Thank
see
you,
around.
guys. Yeah, once more, we sent 10,000 new invites to test, so check your email. You may got lucky this time.
Exactly. Also, check the spam
Thank you,
folder.
guys.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, what Chrysanthos said actually is very valid, because quite often people find that they got actually invite, but they got it in either spam folder or some other like folder for non-priority mail and stuff like that. So check everywhere.
Yes. So, guys, before we move to actual gameplay, I'll just answer a few questions that were stacking up in the background, and send some love to Sub Octavian and to Sir Nelson, because it's a Friday evening. It's already 1 hour later in Russia, and they just wanted to answer some additional questions that you guys might have about it. So send them some love, because
And
it's
I
very,
actually
very nice of them.
think they are not finished yet, because there will be a Russian stream.
Oh,
as
true.
well.
Yeah, they're moving on to
Yeah.
the Russian stream to answer the Russian questions as well.
So yeah, they still have at least 1 hour to go.
Yes. Radoslav was asking, are submarines going to be available for players on the Steam platform? Absolutely, because you have the same game as everybody else, so you will have submarines as well. I saw a question about Legends, for example, the console version, whether this is going to have submarines as well. It's not the same client. And right now, Legends is in a different state than World of Warships PC, so the content is not synced up. Maybe at some point in the future this will happen for Legends, but I would not expect it in the foreseeable future. What about Siegfried Prize and date release and Leone? So, Jakub, the Siegfried currently, we don't have any info, and I wouldn't expect any info in the near future. So, as soon as we have it, we will tell you something about it, but right now, there's nothing I can say. What about Kitakami at 240 viewers on YouTube? I think that's a very low-hanging fruit that we won't go for today.
That's not gonna happen. Nuclear Funk is asking, why did you release the Viribus Unitis on German holiday? Is that a bad joke?
Okay, you can.
Is
Okay,
that a bad joke?
so you can blame me for this. Okay, no. The reason why we released Viribus Unitis on Thursday instead of because it would have been released on one day later, basically on Friday, is that a lot of the people who are actually interested in that ship, obviously German speaking, and there was one of the biggest bank holidays in Germany, the day of reunification, and a lot of people are playing on bank holidays, and we wanted to give them the chance to actually get this ship and play it on the bank holiday while they might have time. There's no direct connection between this is an Austrian ship, we want to release it on a German holiday. That had absolutely nothing to do with it. It was just a matter of making it available for people when they have time. So that's the answer for that. And there's no bad intention. If you felt like this, Wargaming is doing this because they don't know, they can't tell the difference
Because we
between
have
German
German
and
bias.
Austria. We can, and there was no bad intention behind it. So I hope you can understand this. Hashtag blame Chrysanthos? Absolutely. You can give chat, you can hit me with that.
Yes, blame him.
Exactly. Unification does not mean Anschluss. We know that. We know the difference very well. And when it comes to carrier balance and economics, the economy for CVs, I think we stated this already like 2-3 updates ago. We still need to do a little bit of balancing, and then hopefully in the foreseeable future, we can also adjust a bit of the economic aspects and also the achievements. You believe that Chrysanthos did that for the memes?
Of course,
maybe.
he does
But
everything for the memes.
You can see, my no. Let's not talk about this. Vasil says, I blame Chrysanthus for not fixing AA guns on Orb Biskavica. That's okay, as long as you also blame me for the buff on it. That's okay. Wow. We did that yesterday. We had a lot of fun with the German-speaking stream. I hope all of the German speakers were actually part of that.
Judging from all the questions about Emdens, probably yes.
Yes. So, in general, guys, if you were part of the stream yesterday and you got an Emden and you didn't get it yet, that's working as intended. Hopefully, they will go out later today, depending on whether the system accepts my request for it. Otherwise, it's going to be on Monday, probably.
Battle Pirates has a question about the French DDs. Apparently, they are not that fun to play for him because they get spotted from long range and their reload and AA are very poor. I can just say wait for the higher tiers because they are doing very well.
Yes, no, in general, I mean, if you don't like the concept of a DD without smoke, then you will struggle a bit with French DDs. There's definitely a certain skill limitation and, like playstyle limitation to French DDs. If you don't like to play a gunboat that doesn't have smoke, probably not the best tech tree for you. If you have other DDs still to research, then probably you're going to have more fun with them. But if you like, or if you want to try out that kind of playstyle, obviously with the higher the tiers, the better the ships are going to be, and the more pronounced these advantages and disadvantages are going to be. But trust me, they are performing quite well. And if you give it some time and also check a bit about how to play them properly, because you have to play them differently than most other DDs. Once you get to know them, you will have some fun with them.
Yeah. For example, one thing you shouldn't really do with them is early rush for Kappa, because then you probably die. They are more like you should try to help your team in the early game, but don't risk too much, because then in the second half of the game you will be a monster.
Ken also asking, can we please buy containers for the Belle Epoque collection in the Armory? I'm sure they will be in the Armory at some point. We are rotating content in the Armory, and I'm sure they will be there at some point. Große first got a dry dock video buffs soon. Yes, please. Well, Callistra, if you just tuned in, you missed a good part. So our balance guys are looking into how they might potentially buff German BBs without breaking them. Ruby Cookies asking, when can I get my teammates buffed? Kappa? Well, since there's a Kappa, I don't have to answer that question, right? No. Obviously, you can buff them by talking to them and not
politely talking to them.
Exactly. There's a difference between talking to a teammate and asking him to provide maybe some help, or explain to him why you want to go there and whether he might be willing to back you up instead of raging at him. I haven't seen anybody playing better because somebody raged at him. Will you remake a Snowflake event as at Christmas time this year with Steel Rewards? Sir Percival, the question for that is maybe. That's all I can say about this.
A very definitive maybe.
A definitive maybe. Do not rush if you do not have any backup in French DDs. Absolutely, Vasil. I completely agree.
That actually applies to any DD.
Delisa is asking, my stream crashed. Did this get an answer? Will CV players get controls of their CVs and control their damage control and fighter planes? So this is currently not planned, but never say never, maybe in the future. But it's not planned right now. JFC4 is asking, please add free XP ships in the Armory. That might happen, but currently I'm not sure whether it's planned. I mean, the Armory is expanding and it might happen. Currently, since it's a bit of a question, right, where you want to fight these ships. Since it's free XP, it's kind of like a researchable ship, right? So it should be part of the tech tree, and this is where they're at right now. But maybe we'll also add them to the Armory, yes. I mean, if you take a look at how the Armory developed in the last year, there's a lot of stuff that got added, and we're cycling a lot. We added a lot of new premium ships for the balloons with the latest update, and we'll see what we can do about this. Will the space camouflages come back in the shop? Maybe. When there's an opportunity to do so, that might happen. And any plans for new maps or game modes in the near future? Sign to see. So, new maps, I think we still have. So, we, during summertime, we basically sent a preview of 3 new maps. We introduced by now Greece, and we introduced Crash Zone Alpha. and I think there's still a third one to come.
Yeah, I think there is.
But I haven't seen it in the last few weeks, and with submarines and everything else going on, might not have the highest priority. But we always try to add new maps, and we just recently in the last 2 months added 2 new maps. And what was the other part of the question? Game modes. Yes, we are currently testing a what is it called? Geleitschutz. When you protect ships, convoy mode.
Yeah.
There we go. 2 different variations of a convoy mode with a cool setup. I'm not sure whether it's going to make it into the game or not, but we had a lot of requests for that. So we're looking into it and testing it. And once we have the results of that, we will let you know.
Yeah. I actually have here one question that I kept from the submarine segment. From Hellhound Actual, why are German submarines being named with identification numbers instead of their types? Like Yamato is named Yamato. Why are subs being named U-96 instead of like Type 7C? That's in a large part because with the German submarines, you usually inside one type you had several like subtypes, subseries. Not really subseries, but as basically as the submarines were produced. The newer ones already got some improvements based on experience with the older ones, without the improvement being so big to change the type. So it's kind of like that also with the German destroyers, for example. You have Z-23 and stuff.
Taki is trying to be very, very polite about this. The honest answer is Germans are not very creative, and we love numbers and letters. I'm German. I can make that joke because I know it's true.
But that was not the question. I initially thought it was the question, but it wasn't.
Okay, well, it's still my answer. When are other operations going to come back? FarmCat, we're still working on basically improving the AI that we need for the CVs who are part of those operations to be able to implement them. So I don't have an ETA yet, but we're working on it.
Oh, someone, Saltpastilens apparently just got his Emden.
Oh, Emden arrived? Oh, yes, it's 6 p.m. I set it to 6 p.m. and if everything's going out, a lot of players who joined yesterday will get their Emden, and congratulations. Cool. Then to everybody who's receiving it, thank you for being there yesterday. What's up with the Indomitable?
Huh? Yeah, Indomitable is somewhere over the rainbow. She's waiting, biding her time. Alhek, I'm okay with DD's fire spamming, but when they are undetectable, it's toxic. Can there be any chance where we can eventually see some sort of muzzle flash from the rounds so we have a chance to survive if you are a Bibi not near an island 14 kilometers away? You can already see the tracers, even when the destroyer is in smoke, and if it's not in smoke, then if he's in open water and you can see him, you see him when he fires at you, so... going after the tracers in the smoke can be fun.
So, in two pro tips from my side, right? First of all, make sure that you have on the minimap the option selected that you see the last known position of the enemy ship. Because that will also be true if the ship is spotted and deploys a smoke, you will still see the last known position. And because most ships only can go forward and backward, right? Yes, they can turn right and left, but overall, you have a good indication of where he roughly was. And then if you can use the spotting plane on your battleship, for example, that gives you a better angle to actually see where these shells are coming from, so you have an easier time actually hitting the targets in smoke. And if you have a few friends, maybe just go to the training room and play around a bit with it to have, because it's mostly a matter of experience and basically figuring out where the guns are at and then where the ship is at in the smoke and to have a higher chance. Obviously, you cannot lock onto ships in smoke, so the dispersion will be worse, but you still can get quite some hits. Are the shipwrecks going to be persistent on the ocean floor? Dr. Scuttlebutt, perfect name, by the way. I think Evan answered this earlier today, and he said we want them to be persistent on the ocean floor. Yes, that's the idea behind it, but I can't make any promises.
Should we move to actually
let's
do
some gameplay, and I will still answer questions quite a lot, probably. You know me, guys. I'll try to answer as much as I can, because that's why we're here, right? So you're showing. Are you playing the U69 as well? Then I might just go for the.
I have switched to Cachalot.
Okay.
Cachalot, whatever.
Should I play a DD to show the different aspects?
Okay, I can take a Farragut.
Oh, no.
I'll just have
Okay.
to set up the captain.
Okay, then I will just set up my submarine. I think it's already set up.
We can actually division up, right?
We should be able to, yes. And when are you fixing the consumable prices? Because 20k per consumable when you're already paying massive repair bills is a joke, says Alex Holding. So Alex, so we're not having any intentions to changing this right now. I mean, we wanted to do this with the research bureau as a compensation for the combat bonuses.
With the Naval Training Center.
Well, back then
it
it
became
was
research
part of
bureau.
naval trend. Okay, I wanted to avoid that name, but okay. So we want to do this, but since that didn't happen in that form, we scrapped that plan. Overall, in terms of are you playing co-op a lot? Because if you play PvP, you should be, except for maybe on tier 10, if you're not the best player, that might be an issue. You know, trying to pay for all of the consumables plus your repair builds, even though the repair builds are not repair builds. So this is something we changed very early on in the game, basically I think like a year after release. Because you don't pay any repair builds. You pay a servicing cost for the ship itself and you pay for ammunition. But whether you, for example, get hit by one shell in the entire match or your ship is sunk, doesn't make any difference. Are you DLV subtest a let's go? No, you're not.
No.
Okay.
I just click looking to join a division, so you should be able to see me there. Yes, that's me.
Okay, and there we go. Cool. Wow, you're the number 2.
Yes, I'm number
Wow.
2 because I had dips on getting to the list of the accounts.
Yeah.
I didn't manage to get number 1, but well.
Navigate is asking, any code for 60k subscribers on Reddit? I don't think so. Probably it's going to be a bigger milestone before we do that again. We did one for 50k.
Yep.
Picosorium is asking, you want Japanese submarines? Us too. And it's I click the battle button. And it's going to be basically the 4th line that is going to be released after the Germans, the Americans, and the Soviet.
Yeah, basically they are coming, but the core will be, or the first ones to come will be the Germans and Americans, just to make sure it works properly before heaping in other branches.
Alex, sorry, I just have to answer this because Alex was the guy asking about the consumable prices and says spreadsheet says it's fine. I know this is kind of a joke, you know, that some people bring up the spreadsheets, but honestly, World of Warships in terms of economy is a very fair and generous game. Not only in terms of what you get per battle if you play well. On top of that, we have so many ongoing missions. We have directives. You have, for example, campaigns, plus things like Twitch drops, where you can get a lot of credits, a lot of consumables, for example, consumable camouflages, signal flags, special signal flags, everything on top, even if you're not running a premium account, where you will be able to earn a lot of additional currency. So if you struggle to earn credits, if you play high-tier co-op, yes, that is working as intended because there should be we basically have a risk-reward kind of scale. And co-op is not really very risky and it's very easy because the bots are not the strongest. If you want to have more credits, then play PvP because this is where the challenge is at, but you will have to play better and you will get better rewards. That's the idea behind it.
And now that we'll get submarines, we need the U-556 to protect the Bismarck. Well, she didn't protect it, right? Is the U-420 going to be added? I don't even know which submarine this was, so...
Yeah.
I guess there is a chance that one of her sister ships might be added. Oh, hell. Hi, Chrysanthos.
Crankbait is asking, are subs coming to World of Warships Mobile? I honestly don't know. By the way, if you want to see, so let's take a look here at the submarine, right? So this was the new consumable we were talking about. It's the maximum depth 2, which will be able to push me to 60 meters of depth instead of 50 meters.
Say hello to the fishies.
Exactly. So I see the CV incoming now, right? So I'm going to press C to dive. And with C, I'm pushing here down, and I should be able to evade that CV. And we can see the beautiful lower side of Taki's Farragut. Obviously, I did not set up my client properly before. And since the CV should be gone, I'm going to surface again. And the way it works is, sorry, I'm just going to doop. There we go. I'm going to surface again. I'm going straight to the surface. On the surface, my detectability, you can see this here. Detectability range here is going to be 5 kilometers. And only if I go to by pressing G into periscope depth, it will go to half that value. So we see that enemy Farragut here, right? My torpedoes are not loaded yet. And here is the difference to before. You can see that we have the torpedoes on the one button, while the sonar ping is on a second button. Yeah. It was actually combined in the previous versions, but based on feedback, we actually changed this.
Yeah, and not only you have torpedoes on one button, but in this version you also have the aft torpedo.
Yes. And also, so the sonar ping mechanic does also work on the aft torpedo. So I'm going to slowly... Oh, that CV really likes me, but I'll probably take the risk.
I'll make you some clouds.
Okay. So my torpedoes have a range of currently 9 kilometers, so I might actually take a shot here. So now I'm going to press 2 to have that ping, and I'm going to try to ping that Nürnberg. So I'm going to have the first ping here. Hopefully we're going to... No, that was a bad one. So now I have to wait basically for just this one to reset. We're going to shoot the second one, and this one should be much better. No, I slightly missed him. I have to get better at this. So my torpedoes are probably unlikely by now to actually be able to make the turn. So now we got it. And he's too far away by now. So I might try to go for that Queen Elizabeth. So as you can see, this is kind of like a skill element to be able to hit these targets.
Yeah, but basically even with the homing torpedoes, you still have to lead them a bit so that they can turn, because if you shoot them at 90 degrees from the target, they will never catch up.
Yeah, you can see that my speed is very, very reduced right now, so I'm just going to surface here because I want to be able to reposition myself and get into range. Do you have any more information on British heavy cruisers, Picky Boy? No, not yet. We already gave you pretty much all of the information we had available.
But educated guess is that first now we will be adding some Italian ships, so it's unlikely we would introduce a new line before that.
Exactly. Oh, there's a Farragut. Can you help me with that Farragut? You know what? I'll try. No, he's actually turning away. So.
He's turning away, so it's more like okay, I would need some help.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'll try. I'm going to periscope depth because I was spotted here, and as you can see, I'm immediately focused by the enemy team. And I don't want to torpedo Mr. Tucky, so I'll wait for him to pass. I'm still spotted by planes here, which is fine. The enemy CV is trying to drop me.
Oh, there's a submarine.
Mm-hmm. So now I'll try to hit that Queen Elizabeth. So there we go.
And now I can start getting acquainted with that Farragut. Hello, Mr. Farragut.
I'm really bad with the ping today, so this one should be a connection. Yes. So now you can see the indicator here for the torpedoes. And now we'll definitely try to get the second ping here on the ship, which will increase the damage that we can deal on the Queen Elizabeth. But the angle is too bad, so it won't really connect.
Well, it might connect, it just won't do the special damage.
Yes.
Oh, you missed both? Ah.
Yeah, he turned too much, which is fine.
Ah.
Okay, now we're going to I need to replenish a bit. Oh, the Bojani is coming. I'll actually just try to turn away without getting killed. You can also show your gameplay, by the way. If
yeah,
you
but
have something interesting to show.
I don't really have anything interesting. I have the standard DD versus DD battle, so.
So now I'm going to just use my concealment advantage here again against the Bajani.
What?
What happened to you?
Ah, one of the torpedo salvo got me.
No. So what about this?
So I'm switching to you for alternative view.
So I'll try to get him. I'm still trying to get acquainted with the pings. Haven't really played this newest iteration. Oh, that they won't connect. No, they won't connect. He's turning too much, and this is basically how you can counter submarines to a certain degree. Not really counter, but at least reduce the damage significantly. Oh God, what is actually?
Oh, something touched you.
Yes. I'm in a bit of a pickle, and I'll try to get my torpedoes here off all the Leander before I'm going to die.
You were set on fire underwater.
Yes, and now I'm just no, wrong button. I'll try to dive away, and we'll also try to go for maximum depth to be able to outrun these depth charges that are definitely going to drop on us.
And some homing torpedoes homing for you.
Oh,
Yes.
and this was nice. So you could see the enemy submarine was actually able to hit me with homing torpedoes.
Yep.
So we'll have to do that again, and I'll have to actually get that on an enemy submarine as well, which is a cool mechanic.
Pecky Boy, will you be adding 14 ships per game when subs arrive in randoms? That was already answered. We don't plan it for now because, well, we have to think about not killing people's computers and internets.
So let's exit battle and do it again.
Yes. Do it again?
Yes. So as you can see, it's not that easy to play a submarine. You have to actually still predict quite well where the enemy is going to go. Then you use your pings, and as soon as you're in a position where you cannot get out of it again in a submarine, you're pretty much caught. We were trying to get away, but we couldn't get away quickly enough because it was too greedy.
Yeah,
That's
and compared to the first test, actually, and the deep dive, the submarines are not now going full speed, but reduced speed. Not as slow as on the Periscope depth, but still, it makes running away very difficult.
Yes, so I'll just ready up here quickly. No, I'll go for... Oh, I have this one not equipped. So I'm ready.
Okay, I'm...
Any Italian captains going to be available in the next update? So the Italian commander should not be able in the now. So the Italian commander is not going to be available in the next update, but in one of the following ones where the Italian arc is happening.
If I may say something, subs should not be able to be lit on fire underwater. Well, actually, fire on a submarine was a very, very dangerous thing. And it did happen.
Reasons asking, why is the Friesland this crazy expensive or takes that much XP to achieve? So we have a certain price for tier 9 ships, and that is also true for the Friesland. You can get it for free. But obviously, a tier 9 ship is something that we want to be a special reward, and that takes some effort to get there. And we have a lot of free XP boosters in the game in terms of, for example, signal flags, camouflages, and so on. And for example, if you have, daily win bonus, that also affects free XP. So this is basically how we set up a price for it. We want it to be a long-term goal, not something to be achieved within, let's say, a week.
Dragon 2052. 20,052. British light cruisers don't get HE, so how are they supposed to fight against submarines if they are not on the surface? That was also touched upon in the stream, and basically we will think of something. We know about this problem for them, so yeah.
Dr. Scuttlebutt is asking, is the sonar ping going to be faster at higher tiers? I don't think so, but I mean, this is still very early on, and this might be something to be different between nations.
Yeah, I mean, the speed of the ping should be fairly easy to deal with once we have nailed down the rest of the mechanics for the ping, so...
Yeah. Fly Delta, why is doubloons the only way to convert ship XP into free XP? Because this is how our economy works. You can earn free XP anyway, right? And you can increase that income by using the signal flags that you get through missions and special events and directives and so on, and from containers. You can also get free XP from, for example, daily containers, right? But obviously we have to somehow pay for stuff. That's the sad truth, that things in life are not for free. And obviously we have to be able to keep up development. We have to pay people like us, and the service and all of these things. So we need to make money. And part of that, of our concept to make that money is that you pay if you want to progress faster. And free XP is a way to progress faster. So you can always grind your way, or if you want to basically have a shortcut, you go for investing that money and using the balloons to actually convert XP.
Enderland07 is asking the hard question. The real question is, how can you stand playing with alternative battle interface enabled?
How can you not play with alternate battle interface enabled? That's the question for me.
I actually play without it, and like when I need to check, I just alt. It is only natural.
Wow. No. I have to play. Like, I don't know. It's not like I have to play with it, right? But I'm simply used to it.
Yep, it's a matter of preference.
Ahosho and Langley being monitored. For Battleship, the Langley should be fine. For the Hosho, we actually announced a nerf last week on the dev blog, where we're basically going to adjust some parameters for the torpedoes to make sure they deal less damage, because right now it's overperforming.
To the torpedoes and to the torpedo bombers.
And exactly, to the torpedo bombers, which will expose them for a longer time to AA, and also basically reduce the DPS. So, right now in position, I'm trying to hit this Queen Elizabeth here with my ping. Oh, come on, I hit it. It's very slow. And now it's accelerating. I really
I'm
suck at this
permanently
today.
spotted by something and I can't see it, so I assume it's a sub... Ah! Yeah, it's a submarine, so... I will shift now to me, because I shall have some anti-submarine action. Hopefully, if I survive.
Okay, if you spot it, I'll try to actually.
So here you can
use
see
top
on
summit.
my screen that I have a rough position indicator, and I have the circles.
Sorry. In the meantime, while you do this, I just want to show how the torpedoes are landing here and how much damage they're going to deal. So now we see, okay, here the damage is significantly lower than before. It's only 9,000 damage. Before, basically, with the previous iteration, it would have been much more damage, like probably like twice the amount. So this is obviously still a balancing factor that is ongoing, and we're still playing around with these values.
Okay, and now I launch torpedoes on a battleship and launching depth charges on the submarine. And they seem to be hitting. You can see that the individual depth charges have some cooldown.
Mm-hmm. And, sorry, I'm changing.
And the battleship managed to dodge me. Meh.
Yeah, but not mine. He's definitely going to take these two torps.
Oh, you went after the same Queen Elizabeth.
Yes,
good.
yes, exactly.
And here we can see how the indicator moves. I didn't manage to land fully the salvo, but once my depth charge is recharged, because it takes some time, I shall have him. Because he taxes me.
So the bot is still flooding. I'm going to push from my side with the Normandy as well. The enemy Icarus should be going down. And this is something that I already noticed. When I was trying to basically fully submerge, I'm losing like 20% of my speed. So right now I kind of, because I'm still a slow ship, right? So I have to fully surface to be able to use my maximum speed to get into a better position, which I think really increases the risk as a submarine, but also gives you the option to get into a different position more quickly. Oh, and all of the guys who got their remnant from yesterday's stream, my pleasure. Very happy that you guys got it, and thank you for being part of our yesterday's stream. And for those who missed it, always make sure to keep an eye on our streams, and make sure to follow and subscribe to not miss out on anything that we do on this channel. So I would really like to kill something here. I don't think it's worth it to launch torpedoes on the Queen Elizabeth, because she has only 4k health left. Oh, there it is. Taki. Stop trash talking in chat.
Yep. Unfortunately, I have a wrong ship for that.
Okay, I'll try to help you with that Normandy. It will just take me a bit of time. How is that Queen Elizabeth still alive?
Oh, another submarine.
Oh, I might actually try to launch torpedoes on him. If I can make that.
One of the fun ways how to counter a DD in a submarine that we found in our internal testing this week is to suddenly emerge in front of the DD. I mean, it takes Oh, I got him. Good. It takes roughly 2 submarines to sink a DD, but so it's not entirely economical, but still, it is an option. Ha! I survived.
Okay, setting my eyes on that Normandy. And I'll just show my point of view here. So right now I'm on that Normandy here, right? So I got the first ping. I'm getting better at this. So now we're going for the second ping because we definitely want to deal full damage. So, and yes, there we go. We got the second one. There's still a submarine out here, the cachalot. So we'll try to do something about this. Here you can see my first set of torpedoes, which was launched actually at the submarine. This is why they were so bad. The second set looks actually quite nice. If Taki doesn't sink it, we should be able to do so. And you can see they should still be tracking. Oh, that Normandy is gone.
Yep.
We got fun, please. Okay, so we're going to fully surface. And try to get into a better position here with the submarines.
Anchor War, will there be hedgehogs on the DDs? Maybe. Right now we are trying to nail down the basic mechanics and we shall see what can happen after that.
So right now we can see this enemy submarine probably had to surface to get oxygen. Right now I'm still waiting for my torpedoes. Like I don't really have any guns, you know, to fight him. And I hope he's still going to try to get more oxygen. He's not spotting me right now, and I'm still at 80% oxygen. So I was very careful with my oxygen supply. So I'm now in this beautiful position that I can actually do this. Now I wanted to try this all day. So I want to ping once, and I definitely want to ping twice to be able to track him. Go on. Oh, too close. Oh. And there we go.
Nice. X-Blacky, will there be a little tutorial for submarines when they are released? There definitely shall be some tips and tricks how to play them effectively.
So I'm going to launch my torps and then I have to run like a girl.
And there definitely will be a lot of videos out there from the contributors and even our streams when we will be playing submarines again. So there will be a lot of chances to.
They're not going to be quick enough. Okay, run, and then we'll try to dive as much as we can. Let's go. Oh no, wrong button. Oh no, wrong button. Okay, this is. I'm going to just ram. This is clearly working as intended. That happens when you push the wrong button. So we'll just try to go to maximum depth.
Alarm!
How long is it actually active? It would be active for 40 seconds. So we'll just try to run. We can see these depth charges deal a lot of damage. We're currently at minus 40 meters. I'm trying to get out of this before we can see the damage is decreasing. And so we're below 50 meters.
And deck guns were viable weapons on of this era. Any plans to add them? It could make end game situations more engaging, like sub versus sub or sub versus very low health DD. Generally, no submarine tried really to have a deck gun duel with any warship because that usually ended very badly for them. And just to basically make these endgame situations more workable is, for example, why we increased the maneuverability of the torpedoes and why we added the ability of the torpedoes to track submarines.
Okay, so we'll have to try this the manly way.
I'm not sure this is gonna work.
It has to work. Stop! No, no. I tried. Yeah, but obviously, against the DD, you have to be very, very careful, and you have to also be good at launching these torpedoes and then just run away. So if the enemy DD is within 5 kilometers, you did something wrong, and you're probably going to die. But you were able to see that, once I was able to dive and basically use the speed of the enemy DD above me to basically dive away and go to maximum depth, that the damage was decreased, and then he wasn't able to get me anymore, and that's how it's supposed to work.
Are depth charges going to do damage to subs that are on the surface if you drop them next to them? As currently, as you drive past, in the first test, they did 0 damage. I think they don't do any damage when you are on surface still, because, I mean, if the submarine is on the surface, you have a lot of other weapons which would destroy it much faster, because, like, landing few hits or even a torpedo would definitely spoil the submarine's day.
GP is asking, is it possible to point blank torpedo DD to save yourself? It is. Oh no, it's not a question. You're saying it is possible to point blank torpedo DD. Yes, absolutely. But once you are in a position like this, you kind of already misplayed, because the main aspect of playing submarines is to not be in a direct fight with the DD. You want to be the pain, the thorn, in the enemy side, not capping.
I can recommend for this the Monty Python's video How Not to Be Seen.
Okay, so now we have an interesting setup here.
Yeah,
and we'll
two submarines and a DD. Okay.
And Ghosty saying, hey, thank you for all of your work. You're all awesome. Thank you very much, man. Thank you for the positive feedback. Is there, and Darth Aldertress is asking, is there a way to save your settings and hotkeys so you don't have to remap everything with every update? It should actually be saved across updates, because only in very special situations and circumstances we do reset, for example, the file where this is stored, and it's mostly not intended. So.
Yeah, it usually happens, or often happens, when you missed few updates. For example, when you stopped playing for some time and then opened up the game after a few updates passed, and then the settings might be reset because, well, things were changing in the meantime.
Popeye is asking, is it possible to change the oxygen timer from 50% to 60 seconds? I mean, it's definitely possible. We'll have to see what is more comfortable for you guys, to see a percentage or a timer. Why is it so that you can only have 3 people in a division? Is Japan Weeaboo asking. So the main reason is that the more people who are in a division, the more impact they have on the game. This is why we limit divisions to 3 people, because yes, it's cool to play with friends, and you will be able to communicate more and be more synchronized in what you do compared to like a randomly assorted team. But the more players are in a division, the bigger the impact is, and we think 3 is the limit that we want to have right now.
Rakal, missed anything so far in the stream? Fresh came online from work. You missed actually quite a lot. I recommend you rewatch the first half of the stream, because
rubbing it in. Yes.
Because we had a lot of questions answered there, and we had some exciting news, like 10,000 more invites being sent.
Dragon is asking, will crossover play ever be possible? It's a pain when you want to play with some friends on NA while you're on EU. So we have this for basically clan battles, that there's cross-server matchmaking, but team-based. I think it's quite unrealistic to expect this to come in the, let's say, midterm future. Maybe technology will be in a different spot in the long-term future, but I wouldn't expect it, to be honest. So it's unlikely. I wouldn't say never, but right now it's unlikely. There was a question I wanted to answer, and then I now chat moved on. Let me double check. How do you counter submarines if there are no DDs anymore in the game? It's kind of a similar scenario when you, for example, the enemy team has DDs, right? And you don't have DDs anymore. It's a similar kind of concept. You basically need to apply team play and you need to know what the enemy's weakness is. So, for example, with submarines, if the submarine is trying to hunt you, it's very likely, if it wants to get torpedo hits on you when you're maneuvering, right, that it has to use the active sonar. And in order to be able to use the active sonar, it will be visible on the minimap. So you know where the enemy torpedoes are coming from, and you also do know, for example, what direction it was on when it pinged, and you know where to go. So you can actively go and try to deal with that submarine. That submarine has a limited amount of oxygen. So that combination of a limited amount of oxygen and the ping mechanic doesn't make it that easy for ships to just use that sneaky gameplay all the time. And once they're surfaced, or even in Periscope mode and spotted, you will be able to. Yeah, you will be able to just shoot them. And submarines have a very, very low amount of HP, and this gives you the option to simply just nuke them if you spot them. Obviously, as a submarine, you shouldn't be spotted. That's the one thing you want to avoid. But it might happen because you're simply forced to resupply your oxygen. Okay, so
yeah, that's actually one of the things I want to do this weekend. Probably not today anymore, but later this weekend. I want to try out basically the interaction of battleship with submarines, and it might actually work the same with as with DDs, but slightly more friendly. That basically, yes, you have to take some torpedo on the nose, but
he's too fast. He's going to. I missed the second.
Basically, you will be able to chase down the submarine before it can. Damn it! That cruiser hit me pretty badly.
Okay, let's surface here. Dive beneath all of these guys and hit them from the other side. That's the goal by now.
Well, my goal is to survive, but yeah, this is it's one thing that's really adding difficulty, because I'm trying to be a good teammate and I'm trying to cover you, and I'm getting slapped for it.
Yeah, this is an aspect that is absolutely true. That this does add a different layer of gameplay to DDs, but also to cruisers and battleships and so on, because you have to kind of adapt and be able to deal with this.
Yeah, I think generally cruisers will be probably better support ship for a submarine than a destroyer, because more hit points and more sensors.
And obviously the role of CVs is also very crucial, because they need to spot. If they manage to spot, then it will be very beneficial to the team. So right now, here I'm trying to now basically, it's a bit of a risky move, right? But I want to be able to help my team as well. I'm just using the pings here, and maybe I can get away with taking only 1 or 2 salvos from the Aoba, if it even pays attention to me. So we get the second ping, and there's the one torp, and bam. Nice, we got it. So
cool. So now
there's what it must be.
There is a submarine. I see pings there, so I'm going sub hunting.
Must be the casualty here. So we'll turn around and try to get them. Why don't submarines have AA guns? Because right now we don't intend them to have it, and the main guns that submarines have, as Taki said a few minutes ago, they didn't really have a specific role in like ship to ship combat, right? And with the way our damage model works in game, this is not something where, and this is going to hurt a bit. I hope the CV is not going for me. Most of these guns were below. I think what's our threshold? 76 millimeters.
We don't really have a solid threshold, but
well, with the way our basically the penetration is calculated. They wouldn't deal damage right now anyway. At least the vast majority of them.
The bigger thing is that basically it's always one gun, and that's it.
So this looks like a win. We had to be a bit ballsy. We'll try to deal with those submarines over there, and I'm just trying to be fast and be able to reposition. I don't want to do this while diving because I'm still replenishing my oxygen research. Have you guys considered submarine-only ops?
We had those last year.
Yes, and it's definitely on the table, but right now it's mostly about interaction, the game design, the gameplay of submarines in general. So first things first. So now I really want to. So
Will there be spots with shallow water preventing subs from diving below periscope depth?
don't dive.
I don't think there will be such spots because, I mean, we tried back in alpha, we tried the concept of shallow water. And it was interesting, especially for DDs, because you were able to run away from big ships.
I got a torpedo hit.
Oh, nice.
On the enemy submarine.
But it didn't really bring that much, so we got rid of it. So I don't think we will have any such areas on maps, at least not intentionally, of course. Mistakes can happen.
Why are you here now? 8 kilometers. Oh, this is gonna be.
At the moment, there is a definite need for more submarine-to-submarine combat capability. GPI X1. That's why we added basically the ability for submarines to attack the other submarines with the homing torpedoes, and it works. It takes a bit of effort, but yeah, it works. Or you can just chase him until he surfaces.
Hello. So, my friend, you're a cachalot. I'm a superior German battleship. Oh, and I wanted to torpedo him.
You are not a battleship. You are a submarine.
Oh, look! By the way, here's the wreck.
Oh yeah.
Of an enemy warship. We had this question earlier today, and there's a wreck.
Yeah.
So this is basically how it's supposed to work. Now, if the subtest A2 could participate in this battle, that would be cool. So there's the enemy cachalot. I'll surface. I want to just replenish a bit of.
Are the
my
maps
oxygen.
being revamped to cater for submarines, or are the maps limited for now? Right now we have 2 maps that are fully modified for the submarines. And obviously the 2 maps are good for now for the testing, and if it works out, we will be adding more maps and more maps for the submarine option. It takes some effort because obviously when the maps were first created ages ago, nobody expected that they will have to model the underwater environment. So, yeah.
Oh, did you answer the minimum requirements question?
Where?
From Icarus. He's asking, so how is the introduction of subs going to affect the minimum requirements?
Oh, there. It shouldn't change them.
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to achieve.
Exactly. Right now, this is still early testing, so there might be more load on the system. But like with any aspect of game development, we want to improve the performance before it's released. This is still very early here.
Kenro 2, have I missed any codes while I stepped away? No.
No.
There are no codes today.
Exactly.
There are Twitch drops enabled, but most of all there are information. And there's Mr. Chrysanthos now trying to fight submarine with submarine.
Well, I mean, this cachalot is going to just die to guns, probably. If not, then I'll just have to help, I guess. I thought I would be going for that Queen Elizabeth, but I'll try to chase down that cachalot.
Will the post-battle spectator camera be able to go underwater? I definitely hope so. Right now it's not fully implemented, I think, even though if I follow submarine that is underwater, I can see underwater, but
well, we can try this, right? So let me just dive.
You are 209, right?
Yes, I'm 209. So now we're going beneath the surface, and as you can see, now you can follow.
Yeah, if I
My
switch
sheep.
to myself... did I switch to myself? No, of course not. Here. So... here are some beautiful mood shots of the U-209 under the command of our beloved Chrysanthos.
Just one question. Is there going to be a nation that excels at ASW? I think it's too early to say for anti-submarine warfare. It's right now it's really about the gameplay aspect, and then we'll see what we can give specific nations.
Generally, I say from the testing so far that the best nation for anti-submarine warfare would be basically nation with multi-purpose destroyers. So because obviously to get to the submarines you would have to get quite forward, you would have to risk getting in contact with other ships. So having decent guns, decent torpedoes and smoke would definitely help. So I think like British, American, DDs, Pan-Asian should be good for that. On the other hand, for example, Japanese DDs, I wouldn't really push them much into the active submarine hunting unless really pressed, because they have problem when they are spotted.
Oh, hello, my friend.
Or rather, every DD has a problem when spotted, but they have bigger problem.
I thought it would be quick enough. No oxygen. So this is the situation I was talking about. He has no oxygen left because he was trying to hide from the planes, and he had to... Oh, sticky keys? No, thank you. So he had to surface. And this is exactly how you can deal with them. Yes, it will take some time and effort because obviously they are a good counter to like especially capital ships. But overall, there's only a limited amount of oxygen in your ship.
What is the best strategy for BBs against submarines? Run? I wouldn't say necessarily run, but maneuver, vary speed, basically the same as if you know that there is a destroyer lurking somewhere out there.
Exactly.
Good way when the submarine fires at you is to basically turn into the torpedoes, because then you catch them on the nose and you don't necessarily get citadeled by them. And if you have the option, if for example there are not many other ships, you can actually actively try to kind of push out the submarine, because the submarine will always have the ticking bomb of the oxygen over his head, and generally from testing so far, if a battleship gets too close to you and you have to surface, then it's a very bad news for you, because the secondaries will shred the submarine to pieces.
So
Or a nicely aimed HE salvo. So it would take some skill, and obviously if the submarine is underwater, you can outrun it very easily.
So he was around here. He probably tried to run away to the left. That would be my guess.
How effective will secondaries be against subs? From the testing experience so far, quite effective. Crazily Country 81. I haven't played in a while, but are the subs live in game now? They are not live in game. They are live on a special test server, where so far we have invited 3 waves of people. So you can still, I think, apply to be invited to the test, but you might have to wait some time. Draculia, guys, any chance creating more maps like Two Brothers? I personally feel that's the most fun map in game. Yes, especially with Epicenter.
Such a troll. Can subs beach underwater or go deep and ground? Well, depending on the surface of the ocean, yes. You can definitely beach. You're basically just going to collide with the with the ground. It's just like, I mean, you're not really beaching. You're just hitting it, and then you can still surface, for example.
Hoagie62, is pinging a must to target a ship, or do torpedoes run just straight without ping? They just run straight, so you can use the torpedoes same way as you use normal torpedoes. But obviously, since you have only 2 torpedoes per salvo, it's generally better to try to ping. But obviously, if for example you are being threatened, you can just launch torpedoes in a straight line and crash dive to escape anything.
So this game is pretty much over. We're just, I mean, it's only the enemy CV left, and we're not going to be able to catch him in time. But as you could see, I was able to simply keep that submarine also spotted, and then he got killed. Isn't it very easy to rush away the enemy CV with submarines? Not really, because your submarine is slow. Take a look at my speed, right? I'm going full speed on surface, and I'm hitting like 23 knots. If I'm on Periscope level, I'm going to be, I have like a I think it's a 60 to 70% malus
Yeah.
to speed. If I would go fully submerged, the malus would be, I think right now is something between 20 to 30%. Is the current plan. So I would be around like 18, 17 knots with this submarine. So obviously, I'm not really going to chase anything because I'm not going to be able to overtake it. Oh, the enemy is actually over there.
Yeah, and even with the high speed settings,
High speed, yes.
on surface, you have to realize that you are very extremely vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like, how many hit points you have? 10,400?
And that's with survivability expert.
That's with the SE, exactly. So every hit hurts, and you have far less option to run away than, for example, Destroyer that is trying to sneak up on a carrier. Basically, your only defense is to submerge, and that means that you start shedding oxygen. And generally, yeah, if you try to infiltrate to carrier, there is a good chance that someone will notice, and they will make your life a living hell until they sink you.
And Captain Skip is saying Flanders did rush the CV yesterday, but more than once, but against bots. Yeah, exactly. I mean, against bots play differently than regular players, right? And also, the higher the tiers, the bigger the ranges. And
Are you sure the bots play differently? I was team killed by a bot recently.
I'm not saying they're sometimes not very human, or humans are not playing as bots sometimes. But overall, it's still a different kind of gameplay. And obviously, if CVs, for example, would be in positions very often where they do get rushed down by the enemy submarines, they would adjust their gameplay, right? Can you guys send more invites for subtest, please? So we just sent out 10,000 new invites an hour ago. Whether there are going to be more invites really depends on how the test is going. So just keep an eye on your email folder.
Yep,
the
exactly.
email address that you registered for this test.
And as we said earlier, check out the spam folder. It's possible that it's hiding in there.
Exactly. Do we want to play one last match?
I think so. I will take actually a battleship.
Okay, I'll just keep playing subs. I'm getting the hang of it. Will RPF work on against submarines? So Fog Battleship Gneisenau, this is something we're still playing around with. We turned off RPF or we wanted to turn off RPF, I think, for this session. Overall, this is still a factor where we basically have to see how it influences the battle. So a final decision wasn't made yet. Can there be a map with tons of sea mines, particularly underwater for subs? Shinigami-sama, there could be. I mean, we do have sea mines in game for one specific operation that we had, which was Operation Dunkirk. But Operation Dynamo, sorry. So from Dunkirk. But right now they don't have any function in the game, and we'll have to see what we want to do with it in the future. But I wouldn't expect it too soon. And Dirity says, I would suggest to change percentage to seconds for the O2 counter. This would help you better to make decisions. So in general, guys, please provide us with feedback.
Yes.
Please go to the forums. That's the best place to provide that feedback in the dedicated submarine feedback sections. So we can actually, collect all of your ideas and feedback, because yes, I read all of your comments here and I will, have this in my mind, but the best place to put it into basically into writing. If you get a survey, answer the survey. If you just want to be proactive, please go to the forums. Write down your thoughts, not just it was fun or I didn't like it. Tell us why. What aspect was good for you? What aspect could be improved? What aspect didn't you like? These kind of aspects.
Yes.
And then that will help us much, much more to be able to make adjustments. A lot of the feedback that you guys gave us in the last session was already implemented on the test server that we have. Like, for example, having manual control over depth charges. I mean, obviously, we have an idea of how we envision this gameplay and this interaction, but at the end of the day, you guys fill it with life. How the game is played. And once we see what you would like to do, and what you would like to see changed, we can think about, does that make sense from our point of view, and can be implemented? And then we'll do our very best to do so.
Captain Ice Cube, what happens if I park my sub below an island or iceberg and wait until I run out of oxygen? It's very hard to park under an island. That's
unless there's a subterranean, cave.
But I don't think we have those.
We could add them.
Yeah,
and maybe there's an undersea monster waiting for you while you think you're able to just run away. It's going to eat you. Because clearly that's what happens in all of the action movies, so clearly that is the realistic
Well, we
thing
had
to happen.
a undersea monster in the Halloween mode.
Oh, Double Bogus is saying, got a Twitch mission drop. Congratulations, man, and have fun with the mission. I hope you're going to enjoy it. You saw Italian cruisers are added in this round of PTS. How can we unlock them so we can test them? So, Outro, there's no way for you to test them. We just added them for us to be able to test them. So, unfortunately, there's no way for you. Or at least no way I'm aware of, but I didn't get to read the patch notes earlier today.
Well, we can check.
Yes, so in general, guys, so there are no bonus codes today, right? But Twitch drops are always active, or not always, but most of the time. If you follow the portal, you will find all of the information about Twitch drops. So if you're new to this and you don't know how to do that, please go check our portal. It's very easy. All you have to do is basically link your Twitch account, the account that you're watching with, and your wargaming.net account on your wargaming.net account management. And once it's linked, all you have to do is watch World of Warships content on channels that have drops enabled. Drops are enabled by default. The only way they would not be enabled is if the broadcaster manually disabled them or does not have his account linked with Twitch as well. These are basically the two factors that make Twitch drops not work on the broadcaster side. Captain Ice Cube says, you guys drove Trash Angel nuts yesterday with your raid. Yes, we did, and we're proud of it. No, I'm sure she had an extraordinary experience with that, but I think it was fun for everybody, and obviously we also wanted to give the new German CCs that we had on board yesterday a little bit of exposure so that you guys know them.
Yeah,
And
generally when we are raiding people, we tend to be kind of biased towards the smaller CCs to newer CCs because I mean, guys like Flambas already have their audience huge and don't need our help as much. But
yes. Will we bring the I-400 class in the game Japanese CV boat? We definitely know the ship. It's a good question. Obviously not for the release. That would simply be too early. Maybe later on. It's a very specific kind of like a hybrid build of a ship, correct? And that's why, just like a ship like, for example, the Tone is very difficult for us to implement because it's two very different gameplay approaches within the same ship. So for now, the answer is potentially in the future, but definitely not with the launch. Are you guys reading this chat? I mean, I just read out the question that was posted 3 comments above your comment. So yes, we do.
But at the same time, we are playing, so it's
yeah,
kind of
like
hard.
I'm trying to answer as many questions as possible. So for the Gede, I'll try to ping him. Oh, I'm getting much better. No, I wanted to say I get much better with this, but it didn't count. Come on.
I'll try to help you with
There we
the
go. But it's too close. It's too fast. I mean, this is something where it's really tricky to deal with enemy DDs. But we'll try it again, unless somebody else wants to kill him. So, what was your question, Jun? Why does your Große have 2 barrels for each primary turret, not 3? Well, because you are using the setup with the bigger guns, which means you have 4x2 turret setup, compared to the alternative setup that has triple turrets. So this submarine, I really want to get him before he gets me.
And here you can see my secondaries firing on the submarine. You pinged, so I will... Okay, the submarine just unspotted, but you can see still the shells falling. Okay, back to you.
I have 2 submarines here, and I'm not going to be able to spot them. Oh, there we are.
There he is.
Let's see, maybe he's going to surface, and then I'll try to catch him. How long is this taking to get our hands of Yamato Battleship on Xbox One? I don't have that information, unfortunately, so I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I would love to, but I can't.
You will have to wait until Tekane streams.
Exactly.
Or
We do
Robin.
have dedicated World of Warships Legends streams, so any World of Warships Legends questions, you can ask them. I thought he would be backing up. He's not. I mean, he's beached. Krabbe. Krabbe is not having a very good day. It's a crap day for him.
Yep.
Sorry, guys. I had to make the joke. He should be a dead little fish. There's
not a
nothing
fish.
wrong with the French GDs. Why caps lock?
We know there's nothing wrong with them.
I mean, they have a very particular playstyle, and that's the thing in general with World of Warships, right? There are a lot of like nuances between the ships. By the way, what you were able to see here is basically on close range. Wow, somebody definitely stole that kill. On close range,
Oh, wait.
the tracking is nice. So now we see how Taki deals with enemy submarines. It just kills them.
Yeah, I mean, he just tried to get me with the one aft torpedo, so he got greedy, or he got out of oxygen.
Yeah. How long do you think, given the current state of the subs, will it take all players can have their hands on them? That's very, very, very hard to guesstimate, and hopefully rather soon than later. It's honestly it's something I cannot answer. There's too many
I
variables.
will again switch for some secondary action.
So-
Why do the submarines always disappear when I get to...
Well, there we go.
Ah,
Hello. My little friend subtest B2573. I only have 16% left, so he will probably have to surface soon. I will have to surface soon. So I'll just surface earlier, and I might be able to arrange my torps already. And then ping him before he can ping me.
it's ping or be pinged.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I only have like 7% left to... I mean, okay, I have to surface.
Pity we cannot switch right now to our DD friend.
Yes.
He seems to be stalking the submarine very effectively.
You can see how he's, for example, we can see here the depth charge explosions.
And I have to admit that in this battle, I did not do what a battleship is supposed to do. I wasn't fighting enemy ships.
Go for the border and try to hit stuff with the spotting plane on max range.
I was just busy kill stealing your cruisers and hunting submarines.
News about Captain Jingles. He should be definitely in the game with 8.10, but maybe even earlier. So as soon as I have that information, I will tell you. But you can expect him with 8.10, unless he's being rubbish in game and refusing to cooperate with the client.
Annie MN asks what happens when you ping and accidentally hit an unspotted ship, and frankly I don't know, but I think it blocks the ping.
I honestly also don't know. Did we get that? No, that submarine. Yeah, the submarine is dead. Okay, so we will surface again and try to... Well, that ranger is going to be dead. So we'll try to deal with that other U-69. Raid Jam Dearest. We already raided Jam Dearest last week, so I'll try to see whether we can also raid somebody else. We try to split it up evenly. Chris Santos, I suggested a few streams ago about changing the color for the circles in Epicenter to something not white, since they confuse you with your fine range circles. Any feedback on that? Have you talked to your guys? I don't think so, but I'll bring it up. Sorry, there's no news about this.
Will airplanes be able to harm submarines surfaced or dived? The airplanes are definitely able to harm surface submarines, and they are able to harm submarines at the periscope depth. So the only way how the submarine can escape the planes is to dive deep.
Yeah.
And
so
then
if you
attack.
if you paid a little bit of attention during the battle, this is exactly what happened to me. Like this loss of HP here happened because of enemy rocket planes hitting me while I was on periscope depth. Shouldn't the icons for DDs and subs be switched? I think switching an existing icon for a class to another class is something very tricky because a lot of players might be very confused about a move like this. So rather not. Rather add a class that has a similar symbol. The main reason why we have the triangle is if you take a look, for example, at the submarine that was just spotted over here, right? You can see how it basically the direction of the submarine, which will tell you what he was probably going for. That's the main idea. No, not for me. Thank God. I'm going into stalking mode here.
Do you plan to add subs for as many nations as are in game? Well, ideally even for more. But right now let's focus on the Germans and the Americans. First things first.
Yes, so cool. I got both of them here.
Oh, who did I... What? How? What? I didn't even know the submarine was there. I didn't watch. I was shooting at the battleship.
Oh,
sorry, submarine, for secondarying you.
You're not sorry, and you know it.
Yeah, I'm not, but I'm sorry that I couldn't enjoy it, like, actively. It just happened.
I'm not going to be able to hit him. Okay. Well, I got 2 torpedoes here. I completely failed with the second set of torps, but that was just... obviously personal skill, and that personal skill failed here. He was much faster later on than I thought he would be.
Oh, Kismet. Rockets hitting sub at Periscope, that is silly. Rockets are not able to punch through water. Actually...
Okay, and
Actually, that was one of the benefits of the rockets, because after their shape was adjusted, they were able to hit submerging submarines. So,
and guys, please don't post any wrong codes, or I will absolutely nuke your butt out of this chat.
yeah,
It's not cool. It's not fair to your friends. You also wouldn't want to see like a fake code and then you try to redeem it and get your hopes up, and there's nothing there. So no, there is no code, and if anybody posts something, not true. Okay, we got number 1, but he's turning, and I actually want to see, like, our top was launched on quite
he's
a long
turning
range.
so that you will be able to ping him.
So no, I already pinged him with my single torpedo that I launched, and now we can see how far this torpedo can track. So he was launched on this angle. He's completely turning, so we're probably not going to be able to hit.
Yeah, but that's actually...
Oh, actually, it's tracking quite well.
Yeah.
Can I actually... Yes. So we can follow this torp.
But that's actually also one thing that we forgot to mention, and how to defend yourself against submarine as a battleship. Damn it.
No. Can you please overturn? Oh, nice dodging there. Nice dodging. Can you please turn a little bit to the right? Come on. A little bit to the right. A little bit. Just a little bit. Oh. Boo. Boo.
Yeah. So one defense against being hit hard by submarine for cruisers and battleships.
Okay, chat, I warned you.
Is to turn into or against the ship. And frankly, into probably is better, because most people I've seen are trying to ping the front target first. Because that way you shield the second ping point from being pinged, and thus the submarine can get the homing torpedoes on you, but cannot make them go deep and deal extra damage. So you can block submarine like this as well.
Yeah. Wargaming question. How many different submarines will be in the game at the start? So we are planning to have basically a submarine on tier 6, tier 8, tier 10. And we will have probably 3 nations for the start, which will be the Germans, the Americans, and the Soviets. Whether, like, how we're going to do the introduction is still up for debate, right? Because it's in the far future, so give us a bit of time. And once we are done with all of the testing and the balancing, we will announce how we're going to implement them. That's probably the best way to phrase this. Will there be submarines with rear torpedoes at later point? Goes to Twitch. If you remember, when I was turning, that one torpedo that I launched, that was from my aft turret launches. That was the single torpedo from the U-69. And any more questions? I'll give you like 5 minutes. for questions, and then we'll say goodbye for today. I'm going to move into the big camera mode.
Oh my.
So you can see our not so beautiful faces, but you know we're here for talking. Why did I laugh at your question? No, I laughed because you said wargaming question, and I thought it was just funny that you tried to call it even a wargaming question because I mean chat can help with answering questions, but it's mostly us anyway.
Will the cruiser with visible water bombs be able to launch them? Right now not, but maybe in the future some of them.
How will submarines?
It's too early. It's still depending on the testing.
Yeah. Southern Mountain says, how will submarines impact scenarios? TBD. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
What was the other questions? Do the ships know when they are pinged? So the specific ship, for example, let's say I ping Tucky, he won't know that I pinged him. But if he pays attention to the minimap, he will see that there's like a visual indicator on the minimap that I pinged in my submarine, and basically the minimap gets updated with my position from where I pinged, which gives the enemy team Tucky the information.
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
Oh,
I will see.
He was,
yeah.
or there's a submarine that was basically aligned this way. It definitely just pinged somebody, so there must be a torpedo in the water.
Yeah, exactly. There is a submarine close to me. It's looking at me. I might be a target. Let's just maneuver just to be sure.
Yeah. 100% Luck is asking, will you bring rockets for subs in game? Let me find a way to phrase this in a way that I won't say never. It's highly unlikely. What about Siegfried price and date? And come on, Jakub, I answered this question earlier, even for you. Siegfried, no information right now, and probably no information in the foreseeable future. Any buffs for Japanese DDs planned? Currently, no, because they're performing quite well. Obviously, it really depends on what DD you're playing, and torpedo-focused DDs have quite more, how to phrase this, variable damage output, because it really depends on it's very situational how well you do. Will there be premium submarines? Action Bronson, I'm sure there is, yes. And we have, for example, which one was it? I mean, it depends on, like, what kind of status is premium ship? Is it like a steel, coal, free XP, or regular premium ship? That is still TBD, but I'm sure there will be a premium submarine that you will be able to get your hands on.
Hyperion 66. Can we have Italian British CAs before the end of this year? Well, Italian cruisers will come already in the next update.
Fire Grizu is asking, or is saying, feedback at Chrysanthus. Yesterday was a mega great stream. Many thanks for this. Please make more of it. The Emden report is waiting for him. Thanks for that. Very happy to hear that. I think we all had a lot of fun yesterday in the German stream.
Rectangle approved.
Yes, rectangle approved. How is the current status of the Khabarovsk, in my opinion? Ikarozu, so I saw a thread on the forums and I didn't get to answer this week because it was a very busy one, but the Khabarovsk, and I actually checked it, so the Khaba is doing absolutely fine, really absolutely fine. It's dealing great damage, it's still winning good battles. If you, for example, go to any of the popular stat sites, they don't have the full data of our game because a lot of people actually are hiding their profiles, and we have the full data set, right? But it still can give you a bit of an impression of the players who have their stats open, who are part of this database, how they're doing. And the Kaba is doing absolutely fine. I know that over time, more and more people know how to deal with ships. And now, for example, there are French GDs coming into the game, and they have their own style. They might, for example, be faster, or they might have a better torpedo reload. But on the other hand, they're lacking things, for example, like a heal or smoke. So these kind of aspects are always balancing factors. And if you would see that the Kaba is performing poorly, then we would buff it, like any other ship, right? But right now, the Kaba is in a good place. Of course, the Kaba is fine. It's a cruiser. Exactly, Telenix. What about new in-game operation games? Flanker not planned in the foreseeable future, but we'll try to bring back all of the old ones. Will there be captain skills only for submarines? Shopfloy is still too early to see.
Maybe.
Maybe. It's like, I would love to give you like a very detailed answer to this, but it's still too early. We have to see how all of this, what you saw here, is working in the client. And then we can see, okay, how can we implement, for example, commander skills that would help or create diversity in terms of gameplay?
Will there be new Halloween camos available? Jump to the public test, you will see them.
Yes, check out the Crocosaur.
And they look awesome.
Yes,
Crocosaur. I
I
like the Scorpioid.
Okay, you saved yourself there. It's amazing.
And the anglerfish.
Yeah, anglerfish. Okay, I think anglerfish is I think they're both on the same level. What about buffs for ships like the Biskavica? NFN, good news. Biskavica will be buffed very soon, and she will get a reload buff by pretty much, I think it's like 8% from 6.5 to 6 seconds reload time. So this should really help the ship a lot.
I saw a question someone was posting again and again about the wide heads for the German submarine captains.
Maybe
We can
check. We can check.
Yeah, we can check. We can provide feedback. But currently, our captains wear the same garb, whatever they are captaining. So
yeah, will a sub be able to insta-kill a BB when it rams directly in the citadel? Unlikely, because the damage dealt is basically based on the maximum HP of the ship, and submarines don't really have that big of a HP pool. It's actually the smallest HP pool of all of the ships on the same tier on submarines.
And can we get captains if we missed events like recent Russian and French commanders? Yes, with time the event captains will be returning, and I think we already mentioned one.
So Kuznetsov is definitely going to be in the armory for coal.
Kuznetsov. I had to make this detour in question because I cannot remember the guy's name. Sorry.
It's the same for me until I learned that it's basically Abueno is like Kinder Bueno. So you know how to pronounce it. How about Yu Yang? Don't see them much around. Any plans on her? So in terms of stats, the ship is performing fine. If we see a need to help her, we will help her. But right now, I wouldn't expect it. What about camos for submarines? The last question for sure. Chapeau, don't worry, man. I'm very happy to answer questions. Camouflages. I don't know the current plans, but hopefully there will be camouflages on it.
I see two questions directed at me. So, first, Karstenstell.
Answer them now.
Kentucky speak German? Ja, natürlich. Ja, genau.
So that's the fun thing, right? He's not fluent in German, but he loves reading out German stuff, and his pronunciation is really good.
I mean, my German.
Say, what do we say when we go for a coffee? For coffee?
Käffchen.
Käffchen, exactly. Käffchen. We go for a Käffchen.
Yeah. I have to admit that my German vocabulary is formed by war movies, so I am perfectly fluent in such useful phrases like Hände hoch and Kapituliere, but not much beyond that. And second is, well, that's probably joined because Mr. Taki, where I get the plush torpedo? In your shop or where? Well, you have to go to Gamescom and let Mr. Chrysanthos shoot you with a torpedo.
Exactly. No, I mean, guys, we're still trying to get them somehow to you in some form or way through a shop, but it's a tricky endeavor. And then the last question that I'm going to answer for today is the question: is fun a factor of balancing a ship? Yes and no. Obviously, fun. We want ships to be fun to play, right? And that is true for any ship. Is it a premium ship? Maybe a reward ship, tech tree ship, whatever. The ships should be they're supposed to be fun, but they all have a different kind of playstyle. So some ships might be fun for player A, while it might not be fun for player B, depending on what you prefer in terms of gameplay. Now, we obviously take a look a lot at stats, how the ships perform, and we have. You wouldn't want to see, I guess if you would like to see all of the stats that we have on ships, but it's a plethora of stats that we're looking at for bad players, good players, average players, how they perform in different modes and so on. All of these things to have a good understanding of within the meta that is currently going on, how the ships are performing. And obviously, we read a lot of feedback. And for example, this is my job for Europe. I'm the senior community manager for Europe, and I'm collecting all of the feedback from all of my regional community managers, from all of the community channels that we have. And one good example is Biskavica. we over the past 2 years we heard a lot of complaints about Biskavica because the game evolved, and the Biskavica was one of the first DDs that was out there, and a lot of people said it was power crap. Now the Biskavica was still performing fine. It's not like it was a bad ship, but it didn't have that status of the Biskavica when it was released. And we basically give that feedback to our developers and we say like, hey guys, we get this a lot. What can we do? Is there anything we can do, or would it break the game? And then we have these discussions. And then our developers take that into consideration when looking at the ship, and then they can think about, is there any way we can improve the fun or the attraction of that ship, that we can help her. That's what we do. But obviously it's not the only defining factor, because if we would, for every time a player says, hey, this ship is not fun, we would buff it, all of the ships would be power crapped and would just be buffed. And if, for example, I have one ship that I simply cannot make work on the level where I'm really happy about it, is, for example, the Missouri. I get into really stupid positions with the Missouri, and I personally think it's not the best ship on tier 9. A lot of people disagree and say, oh, it's a battleship that has radar, it's too strong. Now, we have to kind of take into account all of the different opinions that are out there, and we have to take the stats into consideration. And once we have all of these information, this is a constant process. Every week, every month we do this. Then we see, is there anything we need to do about it, and then we'll do it. But overall, the health of the game is the most important aspect for us. And this is why you can be sure, if you bring up potential problems, for example, with future ships, when you say like, hey, a ship like this Lava is something that I don't want to see in the game, or for example, you tell us, I don't know, the French GDs are not performing for you, or for example, you think this Smolensk is too strong. We take all of this, we tell it to our devs, and we, for example, at the beginning of the stream, we had Sir Nelson as part of our stream. He's our balance lead. He's actually here, with the community. He's listening to your feedback. He's reading your comments, and obviously they take it into consideration.
He's also a frequent target of our poking, like, hey.
Yeah. So, sorry, very long answer. I basically spent now 15 additional minutes instead of 5 additional minutes answering questions. And I have to kind of, slowly doze off into the weekend.
Quickly add to this that also the fun is very subjective, and we see it even in the team, because we have
fun is objective.
We have
if I tell you have fun, you have to have fun.
Yeah, we have a lot of tryhards like Mr. Chrysanthos, or even worse, Mr. Tekane.
Yes, that's true.
And for example, for me personally, I often don't have fun with the ships that the community often, or the vocal community often considers overpowered, because I just like the style doesn't fit me. For example, I hate Belfast. I just can't make Belfast be fun for me. I like the Fiji more. And I, for example, enjoyed even before the buff Prince Eugen, because it's like, the ship doesn't have anything extremely good, but it's kind of all-rounder. So I prefer the ships that have that can do everything, that don't have this narrow field where they are the best, but if enemy destroyer catches you, you are dead.
Yeah, and there was one question. I'm going to end the stream on this comment. There's a guy saying, hey, wait, where is it? The Feeds is asking, has Sir Nelson addressed the complaints of Russian buys? Yes, of course. Our game, I know that some people feel like, hey, certain Soviet ships are overperforming. We have, for example, what just Taki said, a ship like the Belfast, or ship like the Enterprise that we had, or what else? Giulio Cesare. Right? These are ships that are not Russian, and they're still overperforming, unfortunately. On the other hand, we have, for example, the topic of some players now saying, oh, the Khabarovsk, for example, is not performing well. We're not just going to buff it because somebody says so. And we're just nerfing, for example, the Kremlin and the Vladivostok. So if we see unbalance in the game, we try to address it. Because for us, the most important aspect for the game, that it's fun for you to play, and game balance takes, the gameplay and game balance is higher up than, for example, the authenticity of ships, that everything is historically accurate. We want the game to be fun, because otherwise nobody would play it, right? And you guys have been playing the game for a very long time, and a lot of you have thousands and thousands and thousands of battles. So we're interested in keeping it that way. And with this, I'll say goodbye. I have to actually check here on the side who we're going to raid and who's currently online.
And
so we can rate them.
while Mr. Chrysanthus is checking, I'll say my goodbye as well. I am glad that my voice survived until the end, even though I wasn't speaking as much, but still. Yeah, I definitely urge everyone who got the invite from us for the submarine test, please jump there. If you applied, if you didn't get the invite yet, wait. You might get in with the next wave. And definitely check your spam folder if the invite isn't hiding in there.
Exactly.
Right now we have on the test server 374 people, which is actually fairly good given the matchmaking, but it could be more. So if you got the invite, please jump in, test, leave feedback, and have fun.
Yes. So guys, if you like what you saw here, please make sure to push that follow or subscribe button to be able to see more of it. If you want to see what we have in terms of upcoming streams, check out our events tab. And we're going to raid Mr. McCavity because he's playing submarines and he's testing them. So we're going to send you over to him.
Go there.
Please say hi. He loves a good poicalypse. So a poicalypse in chat. So send over a few pois and greetings from us. And with this, I wish you a very, very nice weekend, guys. If you managed to, if you got the invite for the subtest, please test it, provide feedback. If you haven't, then and you want to still be part of testing, you can help us with the public test. And we're still live, Mr. Conway. So, Mr. Conway, come on. Here, he was not part of today's stream, but he's still here.
He has a treacherous T-shirt.
Yes, he's. Oh God! Yes. Traitor. Wait, we have a solution for this.
Chat. You know what this means? Laundry day.
Laundry day. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
We need Vuvuzela for this.
Exactly. No. Vuvuzelas are basically the evil of the world. So guys, with this, I'll say goodbye. Please say hi to Mr. McCavity, and I'll see you next time. Next week, Thursday, same place, same time. We'll be here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you going to push the button?